The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, NXT Review.
You know, I find that I say this after the 205 Live intro, and I find that I say it after the NXT one as well. I think I could do a better job of the introduction than our pre-recorded one does.
Well, there is no pre-recorded one for 205.
Oh, so we don't even have a Wrestling to the Max?
No, not for 205.
Well, I can do it for NXT too. Watch, you ready?
Well, NXT has one.
Well, guess what? I'm doing one anyway because I'm going to include our names in it. Wrestling to the Max, NXT, and now Harry Broadhurst and the Plankton to his Mr. Krabs, Brandon Biskobing.
I'm shaking my head at you right now.
Are you?
I may be small, but I'm not that small.
I mean, comparatively speaking, though, I pretty much dwarf you, homie.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'3".
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you dwarf me by almost a full foot.
Oh, hi, everybody. I am Harry Broadhurst. He is the aforementioned Plankton to my Mr. Krabs. That is Brandon Biscuit. You know, I actually promised to be nice to you.
Yeah, remember, I gave you Braves access.
This is the Wrestling to the Max NXT report for... what was yesterday's date? June 6th, yes. 2018, I think?
Yep.
And I say yesterday because we're recording this on Thursday as per tradition. Apparently, we should be watching TNA right now, but, well, It's Impact Wrestling. We've officially stopped caring.
No one has cared about Impact since, well, at least for me, since, what's his name?
Corgan?
Yeah, Billy Corgan left.
You know what the thing is they actually have two very creative people in charge of the company right now, and there's a lot of talent on the
I'll
roster,
agree with that.
But I've been burnt so many times by this company that I'm just not willing to give them my attention again and have them burn it another time, you know?
I may give them a chance once one of my former favorites from 205 makes his debut there.
Sorry, had to yawn and didn't want to speak while I was yawning. I'm good.
Go for it.
The Redemption pay-per-view was actually pretty good. I will give them credit. And they've been on the right track here. Speaking of brands that are on the right track, segue! Back to NXT here, as this is the June 6th edition. And we are 2 episodes, now 1, but 2 as we start this review, away from NXT Takeover Chicago 2. Are you ready?
Yep.
No, I said sorry. Course of habit.
Hey! It's fitting considering
yes.
a certain former pro wrestler is having his second fight on Saturday.
Well, it's clobbering time for us here too, Brandon. Let's get to it for NXT June 6th. We open with Shayna Baszler. And we find out that Shayna already has way more promo chops than Ronda Rousey does.
We've known this for a while now.
Yes, but she once again handles herself well in the ring, stating that she proved to Dakota Kai what happens when an inferior athlete steps up to somebody the caliber of Shayna Baszler. And let this be a lesson to that other loon in the back, referring to Nikki Cross, that this is the exact thing that's going to happen to her. Nikki Cross comes out, gets in Shayna's face. Shayna does not appreciate this and threatens to choke Nikki Cross out. Nikki Cross's response, do it, Shayna, do it.
That was great.
She's freaking nuts.
Yeah.
And it's freaking fantastic.
I hate to bring up that other company that we were discussing before, but could you just imagine a feud between Nikki Cross and Rosemary?
I don't think you're going to have to wait a whole lot longer for that, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut about that.
That would be awesome.
Would not be surprised to see her end up in the WWE sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Courtney Rush is a hell of a talent. Anywho, back to this segment, though. They end up getting into a brawl, and Nikki proceeds to whoop that ass. Including, albeit mouthily? Can I say that and get away with it on the W2? Can I say mouthily and get away with it?
You just did it.
I'm being told that I can't say balls. We cannot say balls, Mahoney, on the W2. I popped myself with that. Anyway.
Well done.
Shane is bleeding from the mouth, and Morrow makes sure to point out that Baszler is tasting her own blood as Nikki Cross quite literally strikes first blood in this little feud going into what we now find out just a short while later is the women's title match for TakeOver Chicago. Shayna Baszler defending against Nikki Cross. Your thoughts, Brandon, on our opening segment?
This was an awesome segment. Baszler is great at doing what she does just because, she has the legitimate badass, personality and just the way she handles herself in the ring. And her promos, like we talked about, way better than probably any of the other four horsewomen. Granted, we've only seen two of the four so far, but I'm sure she'll do better than the other two as well.
Well, Baszler's the one with the most wrestling experience.
That's true. That is true.
Baszler's worked for companies like AAW, AIW, Shikara, Shimmer, Shine.
That's true.
If you name a major independent wrestling company in the United States, there's a very strong chance that Shayna Baszler's name has appeared on a marquee for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, she definitely has more experience. She did very well here. And then Nikki Cross is just kind of Nikki Cross. I mean, she's just great. The only thing I wish, this is kind of nitpicking. I wish she would have bit the ropes like she normally does at the end. And just, further show her craziness to Baszler as she's walking off.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Biskobing has a rope fetish. Now you know.
No, it just shows how crazy she is.
Our opening contest scheduled for one fall.
One fall. Oh, before we move on, let me just say one thing. How did Shayna manage to get her title back?
Nikki threw it on the edge of the ring apron, and Shayna grabbed it before she went up the ramp.
Oh, okay. Because did Nikki come out with the title?
No, Shayna did.
See, that's what I'm saying.
I'm assuming it's under the grounds that William Regal made her give it back.
To give it back? Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's as if you ignore the fact that Regal hasn't been there for these two sets of tapings.
Yeah. But, I would love to see, I've always thought, that would be a great storyline for someone to do, just, literally steal the title. Didn't they do that in, WCW or WWE for a title at some point?
I believe there was somebody who stole a title and then was coming out and defending it like it was theirs.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been a WCW US kind of situation.
Yeah, probably.
WCW.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that would be fun to see.
As I was saying before I was interrupted, our opening contest, scheduled for one fall, is TM61 taking on Jobber A and Jobber B.
It's the Job Squad.
Names are mentioned. I did not catch them. I do not care to rewatch this match to learn them.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, Shane Thorne picks up the pinfall on Jobber B with a Northern Lariat to the back of the dome piece at 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Okay, first of all, I want to talk about two different things about this match here. You ready, Brandon?
Okay.
Number one, Nigel points out that move in Australia is known as the King's Hit. Your thoughts on that?
Huh. I did not hear that. I must have missed that part with him mentioning that. That's interesting. It's a cool name.
Second, we officially dropped TM61. They are now known as the Mighty.
All hail the Mighty.
Well, as we all know, Brandon, TMDK.
Yes.
Just saying. And if you don't know what that stands for, the mighty don't kneel.
The one thing I will say about this match, there's not really much to talk about the in-ring stuff, but this may be a bad sign for TM61 that we got a pretty vocal "Let's Go Jobbers" chant going.
Well, they're heels, though, so that's
true.
That's acceptable in this instance.
That's true. But even heels that are respected, like, if ever, like, the Revival were facing a jobber team, you would never hear it against the Revival or anything like that.
Well, I think that a lot of that has to do with the shady ways that TM61 has been winning, too.
That's true.
They're not badass heels. They're chicken heels.
That's true.
The one thing that I did want to talk about is one of the teams that they called out by name in their post-match promo was War Raiders, who currently have nothing scheduled for TakeOver Chicago. Oh, you done up, boys.
Have fun. The Mighty is about to get dominated by the World Dominators.
War Raiders!
War Machine! World Domination! Ah!
You feel better now that you got that off your chest?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on. Highlights of last week's opening segment between Lars Sullivan and Aleister Black. We then get a highlight package of Lars Sullivan destroying a bunch of undercard guys, including what I think is Tion Bing's first appearance on NXT, despite signing 4 years ago.
Well, outside of him appearing in the Royal Rumble that one year. Or was it the Royal Rumble or Andre? I forget which one.
I don't even remember him being in any of that stuff.
I remember specifically seeing him in one of them because they mentioned him.
Either way, he finally gets back on television and it's getting his ass handed to him by Lars Sullivan. We're going to hear from Aleister Black next week live in Full Sail. The hard sell is going to be on for the NXT title match at TakeOver Chicago as Black defends against Sullivan. I want you to be honest with me here. Scale of 1 to 10, where do you put Lars Sullivan's chances of winning the title? Because I'm somewhere around a 3.
I'm going to be slightly higher, and I'm going to put it at a 4.
I don't think that Sullivan's the guy that they take the belt off of Aleister for. I think you have a ready-made guy to challenge Aleister for the title once he's in the position where he's higher up on the card. And I think that it's a guy that the fans are going to be a lot more invested in than Lars Sullivan, that they're going to want to see as the face of the brand in somebody like an Ethan Carter III in C3.
Probably. You're probably right there. The only thing that I'm unsure about, and I think Lars Sullivan is going to fall into the position that a similarly monstrous man on the main roster has fallen into, is that you have to, if you're going to have, or if you're going to have Aleister retain, you would have to think it would be through shenanigans, because you wouldn't want a guy as big as someone like, Lars Sullivan, and someone that they seem to be wanting to push as a, monster heel, a la Braun Strowman on the main roster. You wouldn't think that they would want to completely undermine that momentum by having him lose clean to Aleister.
Yeah, I don't think Black Mass finishes at TakeOver Chicago. I think Aleister catches a sunset flip. He catches some kind of cradle counter out of the freak accident. I don't think it's Black Mass that puts Lars Sullivan down.
Or with what you talked about right there, granted, I don't know exactly how this would work, because why would this distract Sullivan? But perhaps some interference from the aforementioned EC3.
I don't think you can have EC3 get involved in this match and not continue to have Sullivan in the title picture. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see Sullivan stay in the title picture until the TakeOver before SummerSlam, and then see Sullivan come up to the main roster after TakeOver Brooklyn 4.
I could see that. I'm just not sure if Sullivan is quite... I mean, he's only been in NXT for, less than a year now?
Thereabouts.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know if he's quite at that level yet where he'd be able to come up to the main roster. And plus, it seems like, I mean, did we have any call-ups last year post SummerSlam?
There were a few. I'm pretty sure. Wasn't Asuka right after SummerSlam weekend last year?
I thought she was after WrestleMania weekend.
No, I definitely think because she took on Ember Moon at Takeover Brooklyn.
Oh, okay, you're right.
Because that's the match she broke her collarbone in.
Right. No, she didn't officially come up until TLC, like, right before TLC.
Right, but she got the call up and it was announced that she was coming right after Summer.
You're right. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I could potentially do that. I'm just not sure if he's quite ready yet.
Our next contest is scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
And it is Roderick Strong taking on Danny Burch as a preview of the tag team title match that is currently slated for TakeOver Chicago. Roderick teams with Kyle O'Reilly because Bobby Fish blew out his knee. Danny Burch teams with Oney Lorcan because, frankly, they both just like to beat the crap out of people. In the end, a distraction by Adam Cole,
baby,
leads to Roderick Strong hitting Burch with a side cradle backbreaker and stacking him up in a Matchbox cover for the pinfall at 5 minutes and 47 seconds. What was there was okay, but obviously the story to tell in this contest was the interference by the Undisputed Era and then the proper crap kicking that they received by Pete Dunne and Oney Lorcan on the floor before the interference outside led directly into the finish.
And also, I'm assuming we're going to talk about this after the match, but also of note was what happened post-match with Dunne.
We'll talk about Dunne in a second, too. What were your thoughts on Roderick and Danny?
I mean, like you said, it wasn't the greatest match in the world because it was more so just focused on, you know, the eventual interferences by both Undisputed Era and the alliance of Burch, Lorcan, and Dunne. But all in all, before that, the match was decent. You know, it was a solid match. I'm kind of, like, I understand why they're doing it, but, like, I'm kind of annoyed that they're getting rid of, they got rid of Burch's theme in place of him just using Lorcan's.
This is the Lindsay Dorado thing all over again.
Yes, I know this.
Anywho. Post-match, Pete Dunne tries to knock the snuffleupagus out of Roderick Strong. However, Kyle O'Reilly has Roderick's back with the WWE UK Championship belt to the knee of Pete Dunne, and the end of Heartache lays Pete Dunne out by Roderick Strong here. This serves two purposes, Brandon. One, you continue to build up heat for the future one-on-one rematch that we're going to get between Roderick and Pete Dunne. Yeah. And two, and just as importantly here, you get heat on the six-man tag match that is going to be scheduled for the UK tapings that are going to happen on the 18th and 19th, but air on the network on the 25th and 26th.
Mm-hmm.
Are you surprised that they're doing Mustache Mountain with Pete Dunne versus the Undisputed Era in advance of, or after, it would be after TakeOver Chicago, yeah. Or do you think that this is a match that would have been better suited for TakeOver Chicago since we don't have Adam Cole? Since we don't have Adam Cole,
baby,
on the main card at TakeOver Chicago as of right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure because, like, on one hand, I feel like, you know, they want all the titles defended at takeovers, so obviously that's why they're having Burch and Lorcan face off against Undisputed Era for the titles at TakeOver. And having the full Mustache Mountain stable go up against Undisputed Era, I think feels it like, while yes, the US fans do know about it, it's definitely something that the more casual NXT fan may not necessarily know about. Could you have, you know, made that the storyline instead and explained why they're teaming up, yes, absolutely. But like, I feel like the reasoning why they're doing this is to give the UK fans that big moment with Mustache Mountain being together and everything.
I'm going to make two bold predictions right here on the show. One,
Okay.
Pete Dunne loses the UK championship to whoever wins the tournament.
Yeah, you're probably right there.
Two, Pete Dunne becomes a full-time active member of the NXT roster after the UK tapings later this month.
Even if we finally end up getting the infinitely rumored TV show.
Yes, even if... Well, they even went as far to announce a general manager for that, too. Johnny Sane.
Oh, did they? I didn't see that. Okay, so
Yeah,
we may actually finally be getting the TV show that, I'm
going to tell you right now, this WWE UK TV show better get aired in the US.
I would assume it would. Why wouldn't it?
They better not take away Pete Dunne, Trent Seven, and Tyler Bate from me. Ty to Tyler.
I don't think they would. I mean, I don't think they have any sort of region restrictions on the network.
Tell that to some of our overseas friends, because yes, they do.
Like what?
I know Canada. If you're with certain cable companies, you can't get the network. You only get the live stream channel.
You can't buy the network itself?
You only get the live stream channel, and it's included with your cable services for an extra subscription fee.
That's
garbage?
Yeah,
yes, I agree.
Very.
That sucks ass. Yes,
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, it does.
Totally does.
Yeah.
All right. Backstage, Kassius Ohno is in the middle of a photo shoot, to which the cameraman was saying, "Oh, no." Anywho. Hey, look who shows up. It's EC3. Did you know that he is in the top 1%? Man, these NXT songs are so catchy.
The Velveteen Dream.
That was creepy. I'm moving on. Anywho,
I just had to.
EC3 tries to call out Kassius Ohno mostly on his ugliness because apparently Ethan's not a star. And Ohno threatens him that he will end up within 1% of unconsciousness if he keeps talking Snuffleupagus. Which I actually thought was a very good line.
It was great.
We then make a match for the two of them next week. They accept each other's challenge. We assume GM William Regal greenlights this. He's not around to do so, but for the sake of a wrestling show, we'll just imagine that William Regal said, "Bloody hell, why not?" Aleister Black comments to Lars Sullivan about the previous statement that Sullivan made, beating up a bunch of rookaroos over at the Performance Center, and says that he will be live in the arena next week to officially issue the Fade to Black proclamation towards Lars Sullivan. Real quick, I didn't get your thoughts on the EC3 Ohno segment.
How many matches are currently on the TakeOver card?
Let's see here. You got the heavyweight title match, Black and Sullivan. You got the tag title match, Larkin and Birch against O'Reilly and Strong. You got Ricochet versus Velveteen, which we'll get to next. You got what else is? Oh, Tommaso and Johnny, and then you got Shayna and Nikki. So 5.
How many are there normally?
5.
Oh, okay. So it's pretty much filled up.
Yeah, they don't do pre-show matches either, which sucks.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think they'd be better off just giving NXT the extra half hour and doing 3-hour shows with 6 matches.
Yeah, I mean, because, like, if they weren't completely filled up, I would say, like, this is going to go to some sort of wacky finish, or, we're not even going to get the match, and, this match will happen at TakeOver. Honestly, this would be a good match to throw on the pre-show to kind of get the crowd amped up.
Or alternatively, have it on the TakeOver, have it on the pre-show at TakeOver live in the arena, and then it'd be one of the matches that airs the fall.
Oh, yeah. One of the ones
Chicago.
Yeah. That would be a good idea as well.
Hype video package for Ricochet and Velveteen Dream, and god damn it, these two are going to tear the house down.
Oh, yeah.
On the 16th. Like, You can show me all of the cards for all of the shows on that weekend. The NXT Takeover show. There's a Ring of Honor show in the general vicinity of Chicago that weekend. There's the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff scheduled for that weekend there. Ricochet and Velveteen Dream is the match that I have my expectations set the highest for.
The only match, at least for this card, I have to look at the other cards, obviously, to really give you an idea fully for the full weekend. At least for TakeOver, the only other match that I think could maybe not surpass it, but at the very least, be on the same level as it is going to be Gargano Ciampa 2.
Well, they're going to go, I think they said no disqualification. It's a street fight.
It's a street fight. So they're just going to beat the holy hell out of each other.
Whereas Ricochet and Velveteen's going to be more of your wrestling clip.
That's true.
And seriously, if you didn't pop for Ricochet's front flip into landing on his feet,
God, that was great. And then not only that, Velveteen's face when he did it.
Sold the crap out of it.
He was like, "What the hell? You can do that?"
Ricochet firing off a shot about Velveteen not being tough enough, and Velveteen wanting in character. Velveteen has no recollection of this. Was hilarious, too.
That was great.
Our main event is scheduled for one fall. As it is the rubber match between Kairi Sane and Lacey Evans, because apparently in 2018 a right hand is a finish. Okay, I want to state for the record that I don't actually dislike Lacey Evans, but she's going to need a better finisher. And I don't know that the gimmick that she currently has is going to be good enough in order to endear her to the point that the NXT fans take her seriously.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Because it's a very polarizing gimmick, especially, yes, I know she's supposed to be a heel right now, so it works at this point, but, if they ever want to try to turn her face, she's going to become like The Miz.
In the end, the insane elbow spells curtains for Lacey Evans at 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Do you think we're setting up Kairi as the next challenger to probably Shayna Baszler coming out of TakeOver Chicago?
I would certainly hope so.
I would think so, especially with the Mae Young Classic number 2 getting ready to come up here, and rumors are that that's taping in August.
Yeah, I don't see how she wouldn't be. And I just thought of something, especially considering who the big rumor is that she is now cleared and signed again and going to be in Mae Young Classic 2. Who would be the perfect person to work Kairi in her, probably not the first title defense, but the next title defense in NXT.
This assumes Kairi takes the belt off of Shayna, and I know who you're referring to. You're referring to Io Shirai.
Yes.
I mean, let's not sugarcoat it here. The general belief is that she's done with Stardom's because she's finally been cleared to come to the WWE.
Yes. So who better to help her transition into the WWE style than someone who also came from Stardom and Japan?
Well, I mean, there's this lady. She's a trainer down in NXT. I don't know if you remember her. Her name's Sarah Amato. She's pretty influenced from Japan herself.
Oh, okay.
Not to mention, I'm pretty sure Sarah Stock is a trainer down there as well. Mm. So there are plenty of women that could help Io acclimate herself to the WWE style without her having to go immediately into a program with Kairi.
That's true.
Your thoughts on the match itself?
The match was decent. Nothing too spectacular in this match, but good seeing Kairi get a win and get some momentum back after it seems like I said last week, it seems like lately she's kind of been floundering.
Yeah, this was a weird episode of NXT, and I'll talk more about this when I give my final rating here. Usually NXT has one of the best television matches of the week, every week on its show. This week, I don't think it's the best match on NXT this week was better than any of the best matches from Raw, SmackDown, or 205.
No. Well, because, I mean, there wasn't really any match that was really competitive. I mean, the only one that I could say was competitive was Roderick versus Danny, and then, that had the interference issue, so.
I mean, the main event was competitive. It just wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Lacey's still very clunky at this stage in her career. Kairi hasn't had a chance to establish herself yet.
Yes.
All right. Our main event promo segment scheduled for 2 ass kickings. Oh, come on. You know you want to.
2 ass kickings.
Yes!
This time I'll do it.
As Tommaso Ciampa addresses the wholesale fans about the Chicago street fight, stating that Johnny Wrestling came out here and made a spectacle out of himself, interrupting a match, which we pointed out on last week's review, available in the archives and also wherever you listen to many of our fine episodes, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Podbean, CastBox. Coming soon, allegedly, to Spotify. It's going to be a running gag until it happens. You know where we're coming soon, Brandon?
Spotify?
That's what I hear. That's going to be our bit from now on. Don't you dare forget it.
We have to, I have to go back and watch that. I forget who did it. I want to say it was like, wasn't it Big Bubba Rogers who did something with Glacier about, like, he made fun of how it was coming soon? We have to, like, take that whole bit and use it.
I thought it was Ernest the Cat Miller.
It might have been. You may be right.
Anywho, back to what we were saying about Ciampa here. Saying that apparently Johnny Wrestling wants to be Johnny Badass now, and in the process, the only thing that it did was get his delicate little wife hurt. A couple collective oohs and ahs from Full Sail, but Johnny doesn't bite. Tommaso talks some more smack, and then Johnny does bite, and we get a brawl all around the arena, which leads to first Gargano getting laid out with a knee strike and putting in his own submission finisher, the Gargano escape. And then as Ciampa's setting up the ramp, celebrating and doing this, Gargano comes up, drills him from behind because Johnny's turning into exactly what he hates, which is a nice little story that this all tells. And then puts Ciampa in the Gargano escape. And the image that we get as we go off the air on NXT this week is Ciampa tapping like Mr. Bojangles on speed in order to take us home for this episode of NXT Television. That is a Kurt Angle reference, and I will give complete credit to him because the first time he said it, it made me laugh like I could not believe. Your thoughts on our closing main event segment here this week?
I thought it was a great segment overall. First off, it was great. It was great hearing Gargano call out the contrarian fans.
Ciampa?
Or Ciampa, that's what I meant. You know what I mean. Yeah.
Calling out the people that were chanting for Psycho Killer.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. And yeah, this whole segment, it was classic Ciampa, the way he's been acting lately. Him just saying, like, I don't care how much you boo, I'm still gonna get my points across, and all of that. And then the brawl obviously was great. It's gonna be very interesting to see how this goes. Because like I said last time, like I said before Takeover New Orleans, there are so many ways that you can go with this whole feud. And, it's going to be very interesting to see how they do this.
My question to you is this. Do you think we get any kind of a clean finish in Chicago? And more importantly, do you think Ciampa needs the win here after Gargano won in New Orleans?
That all depends upon where they want to go with this. Because if they want to have that, prototypical WWE one versus one and then the big blow off at Brooklyn, then obviously Ciampa's going to get the win here. But, I have a feeling, especially with how Brooklyn, and rumor has it that this is going to be the last year in Brooklyn.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think they said that SummerSlam might be going back out to Staples next year because
I saw something about them trying to make SummerSlam a mini Mania and putting it in a stadium.
Well, if you recall, though, the reason that it's not going to be in Brooklyn next year is because New York, New Jersey is getting WrestleMania 35.
Good point. So, yeah, especially considering that, I think they're going to try to send TakeOver Brooklyn off with a bang and have this one be, a very big one, and they're going to want that big grudge match headlining the show. So I think Ciampa gets a win here, which leads to, some sort of even crazier stipulation. I mean, we talked about it leading into this one. Maybe we get our first Hell in a Cell match at Brooklyn this year.
I mean, I said earlier when I first started filling in for Gary on these, and by the way, our best wishes once again out to Gary and Amanda Vaughn on the recovery of the upcoming Vaughn wrestler twins. I said when I originally first sat in for Gary that I thought that this, if they decided to push it that far, this should end up blowing off in the first ever NXT Hell in a Cell match.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not that happens is to be determined. But
yes,
there you have it. That's NXT for June 5th, 6th, 2018. I'm all confused because we're recording this the day after, as mentioned. But yeah, June 6th. Brandon, scale of 1 to 10, where do you fall?
I'll give this a 7. The opening segment and closing segment were great. The middle was kind of so-so.
See, I'm going to give it a 6.5 because I thought the in-ring segments were good, like you were talking about. The segment with Shayna and Nikki to kick off the show, the segment with Tommaso and Johnny to close the show, and then the hype package that we got for Ricochet and Velveteen Dream had me really excited for that match on the 16th. The issue that I had on this week's episode of NXT, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, was the wrestling. We did not get that traditional NXT caliber match that you get on NXT television on a week-to-week basis. So I'm going to knock the show a little bit for that because NXT has long been considered the wrestling show of the WWE, and this week it just wasn't there. Nothing better, in my opinion, than 2.5 stars between the 3 matches.
No. The best match by far this week, wrestling-wise. Well, actually, I was going to say
Roderick and Danny and Lacey and Kairi were both okay matches in the scheme of things, but given the fact of where your expectation level is for NXT in terms of in-ring quality, neither of them lived up to what you kind of expect.
Yeah. There honestly wasn't any, amongst all of WWE, there wasn't a top-notch in-ring match this week.
I would argue the 6-man tag from SmackDown was probably the best of the bunch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was pretty good. I'll give you that one.
Miz, Joe, and Rusev against
versus New Day.
And then I thought that until the finish, and we talked about this when we did 205 Live, until the finish, Buddy Murphy versus Mustafa Ali was really good as well.
Yes. Yeah.
By the way, the Plankton thing?
Yes.
You can thank Liz for that.
Oh, of course I can.
Thanks, co-hostess with the most assists.
I guess I have to be nice to her now too, since
she gave you the Yankee hookup.
Yes, I know.
Hey, what do you say we do this again, same time and place next Thursday night?
Let's do it.
Okay, well, somewhere around this time.
Yes.
We're not sure on the exact time, but it'll come to your ear holes somewhere around the same time. Whether you're listening Thursday evening, Friday morning, or whenever you're listening to the Wrestling to the Max NXT review for June 6th, 2018, available online at w2mnet.com. He's Brandon Biskobing. I'm Harry Broadhurst. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next Thursday night.